Hey, little mama, are you a little ooey about what's going on in our culture right now, especially with the schools and the education and the things they're teaching our kids? Now, if you're like me, you're wondering what to do. Well, today on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This, we have an answer. We have a very strong answer from Sam Sorbo, and she is a freedom education advocate, and you are going to love this. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Moms Like Us podcast, where moms just like you learn strategies, systems, and skills through expert interviews and real-life insight designed to take your marriage, mothering, and home to the expert level. Hi, I'm Mona Corwin, your mom mentor and host, author, international speaker, and the founder of the Moms Like Us Academy. I've been coaching moms for over 25 years, and I have some really good news for you. Motherhood isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, and you can learn it. You can crush it at motherhood instead of motherhood crushing you. So let's get to today's show. Hi, Sam. I'm so excited that you're here today to be with us and tell us all the stuff. I have known you for a long time, since back when we did the first, when we did the very first Moms for America thing. And I have been just in awe of your passion and your desire to bring Christian films to the screen with your husband, Kevin Sorbo. And like I said, ladies, this is a wise woman who has all the things that we need to know about what's going on in our schools and what we can do about it. Now, Sam is also an actor, and she is a producer and an author. So let's get to it, and we'll give all your details later. But Sam, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I think my most important role, of course, is mom. I'm a
Oh,
mom
yeah,
to three.
that's right.
And so my oldest is now 21, and then I have a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old. And I feel like I discovered the special sauce. I feel like I discovered the secret recipe to a happy life, to a meaningful life, right? Because happiness is not getting the things that you want. Happiness is accomplishing good. I think I've never defined it that way, but I think that's really kind of what it's about. Are you making a meaningful impact in the world? And and that's why I do what I do now, advocating for educational freedom. And I call it educational freedom because two reasons for that. One, I think we should have freedom to educate our children exactly the way we, as the parents, want to. But also, I want to educate children in freedom about freedom. And the freedom that we enjoy today in the United States is authored by Jesus Christ. There is no other author of freedom. It doesn't exist in evolution. Evolution is a slavery recipe because it relies on survival of the fittest. That's the basic tenet of the evolutionary scheme, is that the strong survive, the weaker die off, and basically the strong overcome the weaker because it's competition, it's ruled by competition, right? So you see where I'm going with this? So this is the theory that they teach children in our government schools. And it is now the broadly accepted theory to the point where we no longer believe the Bible. We read the Bible and we say we believe the Bible, but most people, if you ask them, well, do you believe in the story of creation or do you believe in evolution? They'll say, well, evolution, it's scientific. No, it's not. You just think it's scientific because that's what you were taught in school. And your teachers pound it into you. This is scientific. It's still called a theory for a reason, folks. And even Darwin, who we credit as being the author of evolution and the author of the book on which our entire scientific community bases their foundation, even he said, without finding the missing link, none of my theory stands.
So and didn't he call himself, we call it Darwinism, and And ism, it means theory, like feminism, communism, Darwinism. It's a theory. It's
Sure,
not fact. But
sure.
yet we say it's fact. How do we get to that
Yeah,
place?
because the schools have trained us to believe that it's fact. And the schools have trained us to believe, full stop.
Mm.
The schools have trained us not to do our own research, but to trust the teacher because the teacher is the fount of all knowledge, the spigot, right? And so you have to be nice to the teacher. You have to, sit quietly in class and wait your turn and wait for the teacher to feed you like a little baby bird. And then you'll just gobble up whatever tripe they're selling of the day. And that's frankly where we are in our culture today. We have a good half of the nation, maybe more, who bought into the vaccines even though there was no proof. They were in a test phase. I refused to be a guinea pig. A lot of people signed up to be guinea pigs, not even knowing that they were signing up to be guinea pigs.
Mm.
And now they've outlawed 2 of the vaccines in the United States. They outlawed them. They said these are ineffective. We're done with that. And meanwhile, all of these people just like sheep to the, slaughterhouse just went along with it. Oh, I got my booster. I can't wait. Can't wait to get my booster. And I know many of them, and my heart goes out to them. But here's the thing: if you want your children to grow up in freedom, they must be raised in freedom, and you cannot get freedom from a socialist model. And unfortunately, our school system is a socialist model. It's a socialist model. We take money from everybody and we give it to the people who need it.
Wasn't
And,
that
and
what
that's
Biden
determined by the
just said?
government.
Biden just said that the other day. Our kids belong to all of us. He did.
Yeah, he's
I'm
still
like,
pushing that, right?
yeah.
Even despite the backlash of the parents saying, wait a minute. But the problem is, we've got a good portion of the country who actually kind of believes that. Says, yeah, I think the government will do a better job raising my child than I will. And sadly, they might not be wrong. I mean, we don't know how to raise children anymore.
Mm.
Why? Because we weren't taught how to raise children by our own parents. They weren't taught by their parents. This is generational now, Mona. This is going on for a century plus.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Sam,
Generation after generation.
when did it start? Like, when did we start with this mess? With
Well,
the
we
decline
started,
of it?
well, so the struggle is there's a hammer is a tool,
Yeah.
but it can be used to bludgeon and kill,
Mm-hmm.
right? The
Right.
hammer by itself is just a tool. So the idea was we should educate people on morality to make them better citizens,
Mm-hmm.
because this is a nation that is self-governed. It means that the power resides with the people to elect correct representatives who have good moral standing and aren't going to usurp the power for themselves and can be voted out of office with a knowledgeable public. So the idea behind education, there were good people in this fight who said, we don't know that everybody's going to be bringing their kids to church, but if we get them into the school, we can teach them to read and write, and we can teach them basic morality so that they will be good people. And then slowly they pushed the morality out of the system, and they said, no, it's not about morality. We're just going to teach them how to be how to read and write. It's reading and writing. It's the 3 R's. Remember the 3 R's?
That aren't ours.
But the thing is, that's not education.
No.
So we still think that education is the 3 R's. Like if you know your math and you know how to read and you can, kind of how to write a little bit, that you're educated. You're not. That's not what education is. That's why the Bible says the beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. That's the beginning of wisdom. Education is just, we're giving you some tools, and basically without morality, we're just making you more effective criminals.
But isn't that all that there is in the schools now, is their morality? What they think is moral.
So this is what's so fascinating. It was like this bait and switch. So they convinced us to take the Bible out of school.
Oh, yeah.
They said, School is not about a moral instruction. You know, get your morality, your religion, get your religion out of the school, right? And so we thought, oh yeah, school shouldn't be religious. Well, I'm here to tell you, every school is a religious school.
Wow.
I got to say that again because
Yes.
people struggle with that. But every school is a religious school in the sense that is teaching your child a worldview.
Yeah.
And your religion is your worldview. That's what religion is. Just because we say religion is belief in God, that's not what religion is. Religion is a worldview. If you believe in God, you have a certain worldview. If you believe in something else, that's your worldview. And their worldview now has replaced our religion in the school. And now they're telling us it's not about academic. Hush with your reading, writing, arithmetic. None of that matters anymore. What matters is that they understand LGBT, trans, and woke ideology and critical race theory and just all of this other religious dogma that they're now teaching children. And we're sitting there with our heads spinning,
We are.
going, when did this happen? Well, I tell you, it happened all along the way. That's why I maintain the schools aren't broken. Don't try to fix them. They're doing exactly what
Exactly
they
what they want to do.
were designed to do. And we're the dupes who just sort of went along and went along like the frog in the pot of boiling water. It just got hotter and hotter and hotter. And now it's boiling, and we're going, oh my gosh, this is scalding. This is actually injuring my child in a way that I had not foreseen. But I'm here to tell you, as the parent, you were injured by the system.
Yes.
You just don't know.
This is the part that when I first heard you talk about it, I kept saying, "Oh man, I wish my kids were still in school." The way you present this is accurate. So I want my moms to know that this is accurate what you're hearing, and I want you to just. It might feel a little edgy. You might feel a little uncomfortable. Do not tune out. I want you to get a hold of it and wrestle. You know, in the Moms Like Us world, we take things and we wrestle with them until we can understand them, and then we can decide. But this is
Well,
a
and here's the
wrestling
thing, I
moment.
have solutions.
Yes.
Like, don't lose heart. I've got solutions, and the solutions are better than you could ever dream. This is what's amazing.
Tell the girls about how this takes away their authority as parents. That's what got me. All of a
Oh, yeah.
sudden, because of the folder, that stupid folder they send home all the time. When you told me about that.
I get emotional about it because this is such a betrayal.
It is.
And these moms and dads are being betrayed on such a foundational level, and they don't see it happen, and then it comes back and it bites them in the throat. And they go, what did I do wrong? How could this have happened? I don't understand, right? So this is what happens when you drop your child off at school, kindergarten. By giving your child over to that lovely young teacher who seems wonderful, even though she's a complete stranger. Go figure that out, right? You
Who
give
knows
your
what
child
she was
over,
doing in college?
right? We have no idea.
No.
We trust the system. You hand your child over to this lovely young lady, and you tell that child, she has authority. I don't know enough to teach you. She knows better than I do. And so that then sets the tone for the rest of the school career of the child. The school knows better than the parent by the parent's own admission, because if you knew better, why would you send your child to school? So you don't know anything. I mean, this is what it sort of boils down to. You know nothing, the school knows everything. Now you can wrestle with that, and you can say, well, I do still know some stuff. But in the long run, if there is a conflict between you and the school, what the school says, what the teacher says versus what you say. So the teacher says, little Jimmy became Genevieve overnight, and we all have to accept that. And now he's a she, and he's going to be wearing dresses, and you will accept that, and you will refer to him as a her. and you say, wait, I didn't sign up for that, your child will reprimand you because you don't have the authority to say that. The teacher does, and you told the child the teacher has that authority. Does that make sense? So
Oh,
they're
yeah.
so it's like a bait and switch. They're saying we're here to serve you, and then they're shoving you out of the way.
And the thing about the folder was that they send that little folder home and you have
Oh
to
yeah,
sign it.
yeah. So the child comes home with the permission slip. It's cute. They're going to go on a field trip. And is a permission slip. Daddy has to sign it. Mommy has to sign it. Mommy, you have to sign this. The teacher says you have to sign this. Sign because the teacher said you have to sign it. If you don't sign it, I don't get to go. And so mommy said, oh, right. Yeah, give me the slip. I'll sign it. Do, 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 do. You're under the authority of the teacher.
Or if
So
you
you keep,
forget, then it's like, Mommy, you're going to be in trouble.
and so every time it's reinforced, you are lesser than the authority of the school
This is not
institution.
okay. This is not okay, Sam.
And there's nothing you can do about it unless you decide not to send your child to school. There's nothing you can do. And, I talk about these things. There are a lot of these, what I think are dangerous and abusive sort of implementations to systematize education. Okay. Which, by the way, we should never systematize something that is so individual, so uniquely individual, right?
Another
As your
good point. Really good
You're,
point that you
I
always
mean,
make.
like, well, yeah, I mean, they implemented Common Core, and I immediately said, yeah, because what parent doesn't want their child to be common? Like, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? Like, but we are not called to question the system because we all came out of the system, and the system taught us don't question the system.
Mm.
Don't you question the system. So for instance, the child has to sit in class. This child who you've known for 5 years, now all of a sudden you're completely inadequate to the education of the child. You taught him how to tie his shoe, how to eat with a knife and fork, how to get dressed in the morning, how to brush his teeth. You taught him all these things, and all of a sudden he reaches the age of 5, boom, you're out of the picture because you're inadequate and the school has to take over now. Thank you very much. And so he goes into the school and he's asked you all these questions. And you remember, he's super curious. He wants to know why, how come, what for, when, how many, why, right? And he goes to the school, and the first thing the school tells him is you sit down, you shut up, you have to raise your hand to ask a question. That's a barrier to entry. It's a deterrent, and it stifles the curiosity of the child. I consider that child abuse. I think children are created curious for a reason. I think their curiosity is the initial pathway to God, to discover truth, beauty, and goodness, which actually is God. But the school says, shut up and sit down. Okay? So that's another, and we never question it. And when I say this to groups, typically somebody will come up to me maybe afterwards because they don't want to draw attention to themselves because nobody wants to have to raise their hand. I mean, some of us are better adept at raising our hand, at learning the system and working the system, and others aren't. But people will come up to me and say, "But Sam, the teacher can't control the class. Like that would just be chaos. What do you expect them to do? They have to make the kids raise their hands." And I say to them, yes, I understand that they feel the need to implement an abusive technique against the children because there are so many of them. But I don't suffer from that, right? I, as a parent of 3 children, never required my children to raise their hands to speak to me. Sometimes I had to teach them manners. That's different, right? And in fact, when I taught homeschool classes of 12, we didn't raise our hands. We waited politely until there was a break in the conversation, or we gently interrupted so that people knew that we were on deck waiting to speak, but we didn't raise our hands. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all of these different techniques that they've implemented, line up in a single file, that's dehumanizing. Here's the buddies, like all of that stuff that they implement in the school. I get it. The school has to abuse the children, but I don't.
Well,
As the
they
parent of the
created a
child.
problem, and then their solution, they
That's
have
it.
to have a solution, and then they're saying, "Oh, this is the solution for them in society."
Right.
So,
We're from the government. We're here to help. Right. They create this, and people say, well, what are you going to do with the kids? They have to go to school. No, they don't. Children are intrinsically curious.
Yeah, they
If
are.
you guide them and supervise and help them on their way, they will learn everything that they need to know
Yeah.
because they're intrinsically curious. You think that because you became disinterested in learning in school, because school is abuse, nobody wants to be coerced into doing anything.
Mm-mm.
You think that learning is hard. You were convinced that teaching is hard. You were convinced of all these things. They had you for 13 years, and man, they brainwashed you. I'm not, this isn't a critique. This is where we find ourselves today.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you that was all abusive to you as the parent when you were the student, and it doesn't apply to your child.
Right.
Keep your child home. Keep them home for kindergarten. See how that goes. Keep them home for first grade. Just put it off. Just put it off year by year. Just put it off. Put it off for a semester. When I first started, I said to Kevin, because so Braden, my oldest, went through second grade at this lovely little, really well liked public school in our neighborhood. And the teachers were lovely and they just weren't getting the job done. For me, it was all about the academics because I succeeded academically in school, even though I found school very, very difficult on other levels. But I loved the academics. I loved being challenged. And so that was great. So I wanted my kids to get those academics because I identified education as being purely academic because that's what the system taught me. And so what I discovered, what I realized in the school is the school was really, this is going back 15 years, the school really wasn't that interested in academics.
Mm.
They were interested in behavior management
Yeah.
because they've got 30 kids in a class. And so their primary concern is behavior management. So they were not educating him like I thought he should be. And I said to Kevin, I think I want to try homeschooling just for a semester. That's what I said. Just for a semester, I'm just going to try it for a semester, see what happens. And I'll tell you the shift that happened in the relationship my oldest had with his younger siblings was so convincing to me that I kept it up for another year. And then halfway through my second year, I felt so inadequate. I put my kids in this tiny little Christian school. After 6 weeks, I met with the teacher, lovely Christian girl, full Christian. Her focus very clearly was behavior management. And I went, wait, her focus is behavior management. He's still not going to get, I thought he was going to get at least like the Christian part of his education because I wasn't raised as a Christian. So I thought that I was inadequate to teach Christianity, right? So I wasn't raised that way. What do I know, right? Trust the experts. That's what we learn in school. Go find an expert, trust them. Just find one, trust him. That's how we got Fauci. Find the expert, trust the expert. And so I found a school, trusted the school. 6 weeks in, I had a meeting with the teacher. She took 5 minutes to tell me how well behaved my child was. And I was, again, like, that's not my focus. I want him to be challenged academically. In fact, I know how well behaved my middle child. He was like, he was the child who self-punished. I would find him, like, he would run to his room when he thought he did something wrong to punish himself, And so he would never have been misbehaved. And she spent 5 minutes telling me how well, and I'm like, I want to hear that he is insatiable. I want to hear that his hand never goes down because he has so many questions. And that's not what they were doing for him. They were in the business of stifling him because their focus is classroom management. That's the school. The school is there to stifle the learning of your child. It's anti-education, it's anti-child, and it's anti-God. And why do I say it's anti-God? Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, they don't teach God.
No.
They leave
Out.
completely out of the picture. Therefore, God doesn't exist. That's the message of the schools. God doesn't
All day
exist
long. All day
because
long.
they ignore it. It's a matter of if you ignore it and your job is to educate, and we're taught trust the educators because they know everything, then clearly God doesn't matter. God is inconsequential. The Bible is a ridiculous book that nobody pays any attention to. This is what they're teaching just by osmosis to your kids, right? The lies of omission. if you will.
And then they're using standardized testing to say, "Oh, we're all doing great," because they made the test. And
Well,
in
those are
Texas,
the
they
lies
won't.
that are the lies.
Yeah, in Texas, they won't let anybody see those tests that the kids get, the STAR test or whatever they're calling it now.
Right. You're not allowed to see.
You're
You're
not
not
allowed
allowed to
to.
see what they're asking your child.
That was
How
back
dare
when
you
my
want
kids
to
were in
know?
school. I was livid. I'm like, and they said, "Oh, it's the Carnegie Foundation. We can trust them." I'm like, "No." Well,
So I tutored a young woman who was in, I'm going to say 8th grade, and she was struggling with math. So I volunteered to tutor her. And I said, okay, I need to see your tests because she said that she got, a 64 on her last test. I said, okay, I need to see the test. You can't see the test. How are you supposed to improve if you can't see the test? How am I supposed to, as a tutor, understand where her lacking is? You're telling me I have to start from scratch to figure out where she goes wrong on things?
yeah, they
It would
don't
be
want
so
you to
much
see the
easier if I could see
test.
the right.
But
But
in
why? That's highly
because in
suspicious.
Texas, someone has exposed it and they ask the kids questions. And the story problems are all about the things more indoctrination. They'll ask the
Yeah. Does
children
mommy have a
questions.
gun in the house?
Mommy had a gun in
You
the
know,
house, or is she? And
I
then there were
covered
4 bullets. Or I mean, it wasn't that, but they're asking questions about their family life.
right. A few years ago, I covered a story that was on a test. It was a question on a test. It was called Ruby's hair clip.
Yes,
And
I
it was a
remember that.
story about a young child who goes into mom's bedroom and finds a hair clip on the ground. No, the mother goes into the bedroom and finds the hair clip on the ground. And she contemplates the hair clip, and it has blonde hair in it, but she has dark hair. And basically it's a story that the husband obviously brought some slut home and committed adultery. And so what was Ruby's mom's, or whatever the mother going to do about that? And so what they're doing is subtly exposing the child to an adultery story because all marriages end in divorce. Like, I don't know what kind of conditioning they're trying to do. I just know that it's anti-Christian and it's
Hmm.
anti-child, anti-family.
Hmm.
Schools are anti-family. Like, and here's the thing. There might be some mild exceptions to this. I have talked to people who have described their school situation to me, and there are and I have had to allow the possibility that in that situation, that very small school that is very hands-on with the parents fully involved and small classes and this and that and the other thing, that cooperatively people can come together and get the job done.
Well, I hope that you have enjoyed part 1. We kind of chopped it right off because in part 2, we're going to talk about the how. Sam has got it laid out for you. She's got you covered, and it is going to blow your mind how easy it truly is. Even if you have a full-time job, even if you don't think you have any money, even if you don't think you can do it, she's going to show us exactly how. Sam's got you covered. I love the fact that Sam had so many ahas, even for me, who had 5 kids, and I've been around the block a little bit in the school system. I loved learning all of this stuff. I hope that you've listened all the way through. Obviously, you have, and that you will take the information and kind of wrestle with it. That's what I like about our Moms Like Us a community. We learn about issues and then we take them and wrestle with them inside of ourselves and not just make opinions just based on offense or it's always been this way or whatever, but that we're as moms, moms just like us are looking for ways that we can raise our children to be godly kids and that we can have marriages that last. Because you know what? Moms like us, we do things just like this podcast. And you know what? When we do, I want you to be there. So I'll see you next time on part 2. I'm going to go over there right now. I'll see you there.